again to all my listeners tuning in. Welcome to Fractured Poet, a podcast for all of you poetically insane individuals who love getting lost in the art of poetry. Podcasting from Ontario, California, I am your host, Katrina Wisniewski, just another person in the world obsessed with words, striving to make sense of it all. Okay, so I have a confession to make. Going back to the beginning of this podcast, I made a comment that I didn't really write poems about love, nor did my poems get lovey-dovey in that way. That was a lie. As I was going through my poems, I stumbled on quite a few love poems. I had enough to cover an episode, so I figured I would share them with you, hence the title of this episode, which is Lovey-Dovey. The first poem I am going to read is called Yours. Your interpretation of love has me intrigued, like a groove that flows so gracefully, like a strum on an electric guitar, sending chills down my spine, an echo that runs ever so deep. Improvising your definition of lust, stealing my attention in ways unheard of. Creating a sound so hypnotizing, making it impossible to turn away. The sound of the notes you make, I can't help but crumble with every chord. This version of love you speak of has me weak in the knees. You have me right where you want me, mesmerized by your melody. I am yours for the taking. Alright, so after reading this poem, I am not really sure if this goes under the head over heels for music or it's actually referring to a love poem. Who knows, it could be both. I believe this poem was actually meant to describe the way I felt while listening to a specific song. Whatever song I was listening to, it must have drawn me in and really made me fall in love with the sound of the song in general. And as I have mentioned in previous episodes, I love writing poems about music. However, on the other side, this could also be referring to a special someone in my life with music-like references. So, assuming that is the scenario, I have been with my fiance for 12 years now, and to be honest, it still feels like the first day we met. I couldn't have asked for anyone better. He is my everything, my world, my best friend, the love of my life. The way he loves is different. His entire perspective on life, even love, is astonishing, and I love him to fucking pieces. There is never a day where I am not falling in love with him over and over again, because I find more and more reasons to fall madly in love with the man of my dreams. And if he is listening to this episode, to which he better be, I love you. All right, kids, on to the next love-infested poem. This one is called Waiting. I crave your existence. You are the drug that I need. Withdrawals are slowly creeping in, leaving me vulnerable and weak. Just the thought of you has me hopelessly addicted, aching for the taste of your skin. I am waiting patiently. Okay, so I think you can probably tell who I was talking about in this poem. I won't make this episode a complete boasting session on how I am the luckiest fucking woman to have such a freaking hottie, but hey, it's my podcast and I'm gonna do what I want. Just kidding. But no, seriously, this episode is titled Lovey-Dovey, and lovey-dovey it's going to be. Hopefully I don't disgust anyone with my typical girl talk about my amazing significant other, or sicken you with all of these love poems. I promise there is eventually an end to the love poems. I believe I have maybe 1 or 2 episodes lined up with some more love poems. And to counteract the love poems, there are some anti-love poems I still have yet to share. But to get real though, love was not necessarily an easy thing for me to find. Being out in the dating world for the time I was in it was not all that great. Actually, it was quite over the top annoying, and I am not going to sit here and bash on past relationships, but The one I am currently in is something I have never experienced before. It's different, but a good different. My fiance is on my mind all hours of the day. I wake up thinking of him and I go to bed thinking about him. As cliche as that sounds, it's true. You know what? I might even give a little backstory about how my fiance and I met. I hope you guys don't mind, just to give you some background to my love story, to shine some light on most of the love poems that I have. So, my fiance and I met on MySpace back when it was a thing, believe it or not. Yeah, I know. Ooh, you met online. Yeah, yeah. But seriously, just thinking about how far we have come since then, it's amazing that we are still together and our love couldn't be stronger. It started off with him sending me a friend request on MySpace. Now, I didn't accept, and I still don't accept friend requests from people that don't at least send me a message trying to strike up a conversation with me. So I initiated a conversation by sending him a message. I was curious to see where it was going to go. And as I mentioned recently before, I can sense other people's bullshit. During that time, the guys that happened to hit me up only wanted one thing. So I was basically testing him to see what he was really about. Once I sent him a message, he responded back, and the conversation went from there. We talked for quite a bit on MySpace. Then it went to talking on the phone, eventually talking for I don't know how many hours. The conversation probably lasted until like 5 or 6 in the morning, talking about a whole bunch of stuff. Between MySpace and the phone, we mainly talked about music. The one thing I looked for in a guy was the type of music he listened to. I am a metal rock chick. If he listened to the same type of music and loved the same type of bands as I did, you were automatically in the running, and he definitely had it. We officially became a couple when the two of us decided to go to Disneyland. Disneyland is my favorite theme park, the only theme park that I enjoy going to. So we made a day of it and went to Disneyland for the day. That day was when we became an official couple, and the day we told each other we loved each other without really saying the words out loud. There is a story behind that, but again, I don't want to get too much into it. But we knew we loved each other before we even said the words out loud. We just knew. That was a very special day for me. The moment I met him, I knew there was something there. He was the one. And I haven't let him go since. One thing led to another, and here we are now 12 years later, and our way to becoming husband and wife, to which we were engaged in December of 2019, I believe it was. Yeah, 2019. Okay, so let's move on to the next poem. This one does not have a title. It's the way you look at me that sends chills down my spine, so seductive and curious. I can't help but wonder what you're thinking. The suspense has me at the edge of my seat. Watching you, watching me. I become intrigued. You're a piece of candy I can't look away from. I find myself craving you, thirsty for what you have. You are simply irresistible. This, in my opinion, is what love can do to a person. I was never really one to write poems like this, and if I did, it wasn't something I actually experienced or felt. I have never experienced love the way I have been experiencing it for the past 12 years, if that makes sense. This love I have for my fiance has never faded, never diminished, and was never at any time, even now, fake or forced for the sake of not wanting to be back on the market or because he's the only thing I know. And that right there seems to be everyone's excuse to keep what is familiar. This is what love does to me. Such a drunken love. I never want to sober up from. I will now recite another poem, another no name, no title. These thoughts of him, they never go away, aching for that feeling, something I've never experienced before. This thing called love. It's a natural high, the sound of his voice, and the incredible smile. He is a habit I cannot kick. I think this poem is pretty self explanatory. Just another love poem that describes my feelings towards my amazingly hot fiance. I wrote this poem back in 2017, so obviously, like I said, my feelings and love for him have not changed an ounce. Because after all, he is a habit I cannot kick. Moving on to the next one. Again, this one has no title. Take me somewhere I don't belong. Somewhere that's hidden. Someplace quiet. I see the way you look at me. Your eyes give you away. Tell me what you want. Show me what it's like. Let's leave this place. I know where to start. Another poem written in 2017. I think this is more of a seductive poem than a love poem. It's not about anyone in particular, just a random poem that popped up one day, and there you have it. Not really much to elaborate on. Okay, so here is the last poem I am going to read, another one with no title. I hate the way you make me feel when you're not around, so vulnerable and insecure. I hate the way you make me wait, as if the days we spend apart aren't enough. I hate that I have grown so attached to you. You are the air I breathe. I hate the way you make me feel when you tell me you love me. Everything goes blurry, and I suddenly get weak in the knees. I hate the way your voice sounds when you say my name, sending goosebumps throughout my body, wanting to hear more. I hate how I have fallen for you, feeling so dependent and predictable. But what I hate most of all is knowing how much you have affected me. You are something I cannot ignore. After reading this poem out loud, I kind of get the whole 10 things I hate about you theme going on. At least the poem, anyway. Who knows? Maybe that movie inspired me to write a poem similar to the one that is recited in the movie because I kind of see myself as a Katrina Stratford type of chick. Massive attitude, never lets anyone know the real her, not very open about most things, and someone who doesn't always necessarily show emotion, especially love. I know there are points in this poem where the word hate is used a lot, but it's not that type of hate. It's more like I like the way this feels, but I hate that I am feeling them because one, I am afraid of it and I don't know how to embrace it, or two, it's the only way I can express how I am feeling. Either way, I see this as a love poem, my type of love poem. It fits my personality more than the other ones. So, with that, I am afraid that concludes the show. To those of you who are always tuning in, and even those who are just joining in, I hope you like what you heard and tune in next time. You can catch this and future episodes at anchor.fm/fractured poet. This episode of Fractured Poet was written and produced by me, Katrina Wisniewski. Music by Alternative Rock Volume 1 and Rock Electronica Volume 4 from freeplaymusic.com. You can also follow me on Instagram at Fractured Poet. And as always, thanks for listening, and until next time.